All right. Welcome everyone to the kickoff meeting of B in the IOTA Experience series and initiatives. So I'll welcome everyone that joined us tonight. Thank you very much for your time. And without further ado, let's start with the presentation. Hi, Wolfgang.
Hey,
So let's kick off this initiative. For those that should not know me, I'm Antonio Nardella. I'm the community manager of the IOTA Foundation, and we are now actively pushing these X Teams initiatives. And today's agenda will be the kickoff. So I'll do a brief introduction again of the IOTA Experience Teams. And then we have Thibaut that will introduce the B initiative and propose, like in the fashion of the X teams, some goals to the community and to the X team members. And then we have some space for the Q&A. So for the people that are with us for the first time this evening, the IOTA Experience team, let's have a brief overview. We have community developers and community members that are already pretty active in the community with by building tools, examples, proof of concepts, or doing their magic by writing content or making it easier to understand and to follow our vision. And so it was pretty interesting to kick off these initiatives, to engage even more with our community members, and to give them some space inside of our so-called black box. So we are more and more aware that it's time to open up our projects a little more. It's time to engage even more with the community, even though it's already pretty transparent. It's not enough, and we want to do more to have you as community members to speak as the voice for the community, to bring up issues that you have with our projects, to engage in early stages, to help also guide the technology by bringing examples from your actual business cases from your world, and to see how you can contribute with your skills. So it's there are some initiatives that are more developer oriented, and then there are goals inside of initiatives that are not so strictly for developers, and so there is space for everyone to submit and contribute in this open source projects that we have at IOTA. And of course, when we say contributing, it's not just about a pull request or GitHub or writing code, but even reading documentation, telling us if it's understandable, if the example work, everything that helps the project being easier and being a much better experience for everyone out there outside of our bubble and of our closest ecosystem is contributing. So don't be aware, it's really not just for developers. There's stuff for everyone to participate in. The initiatives that we already started two initiatives. One is the IOTA Streams initiative, the successor of MAM, of the Mask Authenticated Messaging. The other one is the Go Shimmer initiative. And now tonight, this evening, or depending on your time zone today, we are kicking off the B initiative. We have other two initiatives coming up. One is the Permanodes, the Chronicle initiative, and the other is the IOTA Libraries initiative. And so there is still more. There are more and more initiatives and projects coming up. So how do they more or less work? Of course, this is the framework that we have set up to kickstart this series of community involvement, and it is, of course, a framework that is open to be edited, to be discussed, to grow together with the community and with the community members. So how it is set up at this point in time? We have the first part where we have definition of goals. And here you have an IOTA Foundation member that lead one or more IOTA Foundation member that leads the teams and is the team member that is available for asynchronous communication. So when you join the Discord channel dedicated to the initiative, is the person that you can get in touch with and that will answer to the request as soon as in an asynchronous manner. So let's say as soon as they have time to be active on Discord. And the IF team proposes one or more goals that, of course, drive towards a vision of the project, of this initiative. And it's always depending on the phase. So it might be that you are invited in a pre-alpha stage, so where everything can change, where we are trying to understand what shape this project should take, what business cases could be out there, or maybe you're being engaged, or you can engage later on in a more beta phase where everything is more or less fixed and we are trying to figure out bugs and business cases for the technology, for the project. And we are almost ready for a release. And so depending really on the stage, these goals might differ completely. So in an alpha stage, you might work towards a goal that can be more something inside the research phase, where it might also not be continued. But again, also finding out that something does not work is pretty important for us in research and development. So of course, everything has a purpose. And since this is a community building community initiative, the X-Team members are openly and warmly invited to propose their own goals. So it is not, nobody's obliged to follow the IOTA Foundation goals. These are some high priority goals that we would like to engage you with, or where we give you the possibility to really come close to the IOTA Foundation. But nothing speaks against bringing your own goals or bringing your skills into play. So if someone is a graphics designer and does not know how to write code, but has some skills to design some pretty interesting infographics or workflows or diagrams, they're warmly welcome to define their own goal and tell us, all right, look, for this initiative, I would like to do this. And in this way, you have also the possibility to find like-minded people and to grow and to find help to continue your own goals and initiatives. Inside this whole X team, So it's pretty interesting also to find people with similar interests, or also to find people that to learn to know people you can start working with, and maybe build a team for the next hackathon or something. And all the team members, of course, can also vote on the priority of goals or on what they want to focus. So everyone can say, all right, I really choose this goal or the other, or for me, this is more important. And it should be really an active discussion between the IOTA Foundation and the X team members. Then we have the next phase, the creative phase, where I say that the people do their magic. So here is where we start discussing the proposals, defining specifications, for example, and start to collaborate and to create things. Again, it's not just code, it's everything that can come up depending on your skill set. And since it's an open source contribution, and um, some of you like me might have a family or a day job, it's completely understandable that maybe some of you might have 1 hour per week or 2 hours per week to dedicate. And this is where we say, all right, you should absolutely work at your pace. So maybe you have a Saturday afternoon where you have really a lot of free time, and then you really want to dedicate that afternoon to this initiative. Or maybe you have 1 hour every 2 days or every 3 days to work on it. So absolutely free to join and to work at your own pace. There is that's how we want really to support you, and to give you the possibility to as many community members as possible to contribute. I mean, maybe in the evening reading a guide that we wrote and pointing out some typos is really something that can be done 1 hour every week, absolutely. And then we have this loop with feedback rounds, where we also meet with IF members in a meeting like this, where you can have a direct confrontation, in the sense of that you can try to figure out what might need some words, some spoken words to be understood, because writing down maybe not in your first language might be sometimes difficult to express oneself and to figure out what, and to put in writing what one is thinking. So it's nice to have these meetings once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, really depending on the initiative and on the possibility of the IOTA Foundation members. And this is where we get together and everyone shares their experience and gives feedback also about the initiative, the goals, and how they feel inside the team. And of course, then publishing your contributions. So, for example, I will take now the IOTA X Teams contribution phase. Here we have the IOTA streams, where we have 2 issues that are community initiatives. So we have Galegot and Ale Boozer. They set their own goals and they started working on it. And this is exactly what we are looking for. So, of course, we set our goals that are our priorities, where it is good to have fresh eyes on, or to discuss something that we might miss because we are biased, for example, or we are missing the real life scenario to understand how this technology might be used. And then, of course, this is a prime example of community initiatives mm, where the community members or the X team members work on what their skill set makes possible. And this is exactly what we are looking for. So this is the contribution part. Then what's also interesting is the reputation part. So inside the IOTA Experience Team repository on GitHub, I posted this issue that I would really love to have some feedback from you, and to understand if this is something that we should aim for. There is this alpha software. It's called SourceCred, and it's a tool to build reputation and to and to measure the participation of community members. And I just would like to invite you to look at it because it can be interesting in the long term to help you build also a part of your career, because you could really show off and based on hard data show how you contributed to the IOTA vision, your skill set, and what you know about the technologies that we built. And we're also looking forward to implement some sort of badges in the new ecosystem webpage that we are building. So it's still in the design phase, so no leaks. There is nothing coming up so early, but we would really love to give you the possibility, if you have worked on IOTA streams, for example, and you have contributed a lot and you know your ways around, to show a badge that describes your knowledge, so that if someone is looking for a IOTA streams expert, they might have the possibility to filter and to find people that have these badges and to get in touch with them. And the contribution here on these repositories might be also a showcase for you to build maybe a new career or something in that direction. And then, of course, we have the community part. And here is Einfach IOTA. Einfach IOTA is a community project, because it's a whole project that has education, that builds proof of concepts projects. And they interviewed here two of our ex-team members of the IOTA Streams initiative. And also here you have from the community, for the community, you have this kind of engagement that will give you a little spotlight. And this is what I love about this whole community that we are engaging with. I mean, this is why I love my job and being here every day with you. Here, the list of the initial X-Team members. So these are members that are in some ways already contributing, and some are contributing more specifically. Some others are still working on other things and contributing on Discord or on other GitHub repositories. And it was really important for me to show them and their nicknames to because they, in the end, you are the community members. You are the people that are helping us bringing IOTA further, to build it and to make it ready for what you need. So it's really important to appreciate every minute that you spend with us in the community. So yeah, for those that have already been here, this is the way you are the most important part of IOTA, because you are IOTA. You're pushing the ecosystem further. You're helping making the IOTA experience for the others, for the developers, for the entrepreneurs, for everyone that's outside of our bubble. You're now contributing to make this experience better for them. And by helping now, you all are also helping in extending the community and bringing and onboarding more people. So thank you very much, because it's important to be together. All right, I now leave. I will now shut up, because yeah, my wife says I talk too much. I now shut up and leave the word to Thibault with the B introduction. Since the presentation is on my screen, he will always ask me to change slides, so don't be scared. All right, Thibault, all yours.
Yes, thanks, Antonio. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm Thibault from the B team, from the IOTA Foundation. I'll be presenting the B project today and its objectives. I'm not going to do a very technical presentation because we don't have that much time, but I think we have some time for questions at the end, so please do not hesitate. I'll just be doing a very short overview of what is the B project and what objectives we created for it for the B experience team. So, yeah, the most important thing is that B is more than a node. So obviously we are working on many projects at the same time in the B team, and the B node is probably our flagship project, the one that is the most awaited from the community. But we are doing other things. So we are doing more than just a node. So the way we like to present the B project is that it's a framework. It's a framework to build nodes, to build clients, to build applications in Rust about IOTA. So yeah, that's how to present B. While Rust, I'm not going to present, I'm not going to weigh the pros and cons of Rust now, because it could take a long time, but what you probably just need to know is that it's as efficient as C and C++, because that's usually with what Rust is being compared. So it provides the same performance, but on the other side, it guarantees a lot of safety at compile time. So it guarantees you that you are not going to fall in a lot of issues and traps that you usually have with C and C++, mainly related to memory issues and undefined behaviors. So that's a really fun language to work with. So as I said, we are working on many things at the same time. Obviously, we have the B core, which is the set of crates, the set of libraries we are working on. That's basically the foundations of everything we are going to do in Rust in the foundation, in the IOTA foundation. But with this framework, we are already building projects. So we are building the B node, of course. So that's one of the projects we are building with the framework. We are also building the client in Rust. I'll talk about that a bit later. And we are also building the perma node. So Chronicle, our new perma node, is built in Rust, and the long-term goal is that it's using some B crates. So in the long-term goal, we can easily imagine that everything we do in Rust in the foundation will end up using some B crates, because it's really the core of everything we are doing in Rust. So you may want to ask to what network it's being aimed. So it's not for the current mainnet. So we are first developing things for Chrysalis. So that's the intermediary update towards core decide. So for example, we started working on white flag, and then we'll follow with working on the new tip selection, that kind of things. So you can probably see that on the roadmap. So I'm not going to talk about the full plan here, but yeah, we are currently working for Chrysalis, and then when it will be released, we'll start working for core decide. Next slide, please. Yeah, so that's our awesome team. You probably know us if you are on Discord from time to time. So you can see that I split the team in 3. So basically that's the B team, but we have a sub-project, like I just said. So working on the core part of B, so the set of fundamental crates, we have myself, Samuel, Joshua, and Alexander. Working on Chronicle, we have Bing Yang and Lue, and working on the client, we have Yue. And last but not least, we have our wonderful mascot, Mr. Krabby. So yeah, please, if you have any questions, you can ping us anytime during the day on Discord, and we'll answer gladly. Next slide. Yes, so if you want to find our work, we are working currently on 4 different repositories. The first one is in parentheses because that's the prototype. So we've been working on a B prototype for the first quarter, and it allowed us to, how do I say that, to work very quickly by not considering everything we would have done if it was the actual release. So yeah, we have been working very fast on this prototype, and now we are in a transition phase from this prototype to the actual release. So the first one is just a prototype repository, but you can already find everything we have been working on for the past few months in this one. The next one, the B repository, will be the the main repository for all the releases. So you'll find the actual code in this one, the verified and reviewed code. The next one is the repository for the RFCs. I have a slide about that, so I'm not going to talk about it now. And finally, we have the meeting minutes repository. So I have another slide about our communication, but if you know the team, if you know the B team, you know that we are 100% transparent. So we are communicating with the team in a fully transparent way. So everything of our communications is public on Discord, but the only thing that we are not doing publicly is our meetings, our weekly meetings, and our working group meetings. But the thing we do is that we publicly publish reports of these meetings. So you can find every report of every meeting in this repository. So it's a very nice way for you to keep track what we are doing on a weekly basis. So we are doing our weekly meeting on Wednesday afternoon. So you can expect a report every Wednesday evening on the repository. So it kind of gives a nice digest of what we have been doing the last week. So yeah, that's the 3 repositories to keep track with the work of the big team. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we are working on a working group fashion. So we divided our work in logical components from all our projects. So I'm not going to go in full detail of what everything is, but you can probably guess because of the name. So I put a picture of all our channels that are on Discord. Everything is public. Except the big private one, but it's only for meeting related stuff. We do not hide everything, of course. So yeah, you can find anything we are talking about regarding a specific working group in the dedicated channel. So it's also open for everything in write mode. So you are free to communicate with us. It's not only reading mode. So please interact with us if you have any questions or suggestions or anything related to a working group. You can also see a beeline thing at the end. That's where we are doing vocal meetings, planned and unplanned vocal meetings, or just casual chats. A couple of weeks ago, we opened that as well to the B Experience team. So I see that some people in this meeting are already have the B Experience team Flare on Discord, so you can already access that. So if you see us in this vocal chat, please feel free to come and chat with us. So even if you have a question or anything and you feel like it would be way quicker to explain over a vocal chat than a text chat, then we can do that, of course. On the other side, you can see our code owner file from the B repository. It's mainly an infrastructure thing for GitHub, for us to be pinged specifically when there is a pull request that is being opened. But I think it's also important for the community to understand who's working on a specific working group, because we are not working on everything. We don't have that kind of time. So we split the work. So for example, you can see that Samuel is leading the BAPI effort, but he's working with UA and myself. So it's pretty interesting for the community to know who's working on what. So if you have a specific question about signing, for example, you know that you can ask myself. If you have a specific question about the proof of work, you know that you can ask Alexander, because he's leading this effort. Yeah, next slide. All right, RFCs. So this is a very important topic. We've been doing a lot of work recently, foundation-wise, to specify absolutely everything we are going to do. So you have probably seen that we are doing that for the protocol. So there is a protocol RFC repository. We already merged an RFC about white flag. So that's our new approach to consensus. So basically, what's an RFC? It's a specification. That's nothing else than a specification, and we apply that to the B repository. So what it means is that everything that enters the B repository should be justified by an RFC. So it basically encourages everything to work on the design before actually coding. So that's very nice because it raised a lot of early questions about the designs, and it encouraged a lot of people to actually question the design and give feedback and try to find the pros and cons of every design we are working on. So we are applying that to the B repository. If you go to the second link, you'll see that there is a README book that is being updated automatically whenever a B RFC is being merged. So that's really cool for you to keep track of the RFCs. So we are doing that at the moment. We are writing a lot of RFCs. We merged 2 yesterday. We are working on 3 new. And I think that's a very good way for the community to understand why we did something. So the thing is that if there is a question about a design, about B, we should be able to link a specific RFC that is justifying this specific design. So yeah, that's really helpful. Next. Yeah, I just wanted to send this again. It's public, it's on our roadmap, so nothing new here. I just wanted to say a word because since Q1 we have been working on the Node prototype. This has been going quite well, I would say. So we already have this prototype. Basically, what we wanted to achieve during this period is a B node that is self-solidifying. So a B node that is able to fetch all the missing transactions and to its neighbors. So we have been doing that. At the same time, we are doing the actual release. So now we are writing documentations, writing some more tests, finishing the RFCs, working on the continuation integration, everything that will ensure that we have a very good release for the community. So we are doing both at the same time at the moment. And for the Q3, for the third quarter, we have the improved Rust node. So this one will have all the features. For example, we won't be doing the local snapshots as part of the second quarter. So that's something that will come out of Q3. So yeah, but the aim is to have a fully 100% finished node at the end of Q3. So that's the current aim. Next. Yes, so we selected a few objectives for us and the community. Obviously, that's just a suggestion from us. That's not something that you have to commit to, and you obviously can add your own objectives. So I think we divided the objectives in 6 parts, in 6 different parts. So let's have a look. Next. All right, so yeah, the first one is very important for the B team because we are really committed to deliver high quality product and projects. So for this, quality assurance and quality control are very important. Ourselves in the team are very committed to that, so we are already doing a lot of work towards that, but I think there is something for the community to be done here to work with us toward these objectives. So one thing we have been doing recently is adding our continuous integration on GitHub. So GitHub has this new thing, GitHub Actions. So that's their own continuous integration thing. It's really cool. It's really easy to use. So we have been adding some workflows on our repository, but I'm certain that the community can be very creative in creating new workflows that we haven't thought about and improve the ones we already have. Because at the moment, for example, we are not caching anything in the workflows, so it takes quite some time, but that's not a priority for us because it's working. So yeah, there are a lot of improvements on the CI to be done. And of course, test coverage. So we are aiming for a very high test coverage. I don't want to give numbers at the moment, but we are aiming very high. So that's probably something the community can be involved into, which is very nice because writing test coverage is also writing examples in a sense. So I think there is something to be done here. Next. Documentation, of course, that's a very important thing for the BE experience team and also for the rest of the community. So I've divided this in external documentation and internal documentation. What I want to say is just internal documentation is, of course, what you can read inside the code. So the code documentation, that kind of things, and external documentation is something you actually read on a documentation website or anything. So basically it can be everything. We haven't really well defined the key results for that. So, but it could be anything ranging from just plain text documentation or diagrams or flowcharts or anything. Really anything can be helpful, even just graphics, maybe images or anything. So I think the community can be quite creative on this one. Next. Yeah, benchmarks. So of course, if we want to do a very efficient program and a very efficient product for the community, we'll have to write a lot of benchmarks. Benchmarks for the libraries we are using and benchmark for our own libraries. So for example, something that comes to mind is that we are currently using one library for Ketchak, but there are two competing libraries in the community. So that's something I have been speaking with the community last week. Which one should you use? Should we use? So to really decide that and to integrate that in the RFC to justify using this library or this library, we need that kind of benchmarks because if someone asks us, why did you choose this one? Then we can just send the RFC justifying why it was at this point the best choice to make. So yeah, benchmarks are really helpful for that. And of course, a lot of profiling and benchmarking for our own crates and node, because we want a very efficient node for the community. So yeah, a lot of profiling to understand what and where are the current bottlenecks and how to eliminate them. Next. RFCs. So of course that's very important. That's where I put the highest priorities at the moment. Why? Because we don't want anything entering the main repository without an RFC. So basically that's a blocker. It means that we can't merge anything on the main repository without having the RFCs done. So that's why we are actively working on that at the moment. And we need some proofreading from the community and proof validation from the community. That's something we actually already started with the community. I see some people in this call that have been helping a lot. So thank you very much for that. We have been having a lot of very, very good and on-point feedbacks for the RFCs. So yeah, that's basically the only objectives I put around RFC, but that doesn't mean you can't open an RFC. If you have a feature in mind, that's the way to go. You should first open an RFC on the repository and then we'll discuss on the PR. But yeah, that's the main objective. Next slide. Yeah, so this one, very important. I've only put one here, new node features, because the B team is currently working on what is considered the core. So that's delivering a set of crates that are sufficient and efficient to write a good node. What is not absolutely necessary, for example, is all the features like a tangle monitor, a dashboard, that kind of plugins that you can put in the node. This is not considered fundamental at the moment. So these are the kind of things that will come later in the process. But that's definitely something that the community can be involved into, improving the nodes in a non-essential way, basically making it more user-friendly and more manageable for the community. So that's something we are seeing with Hornet, and I think that's why the community loves Hornet, because it has a lot of very good plugins, and it makes it very easy to use and very enjoyable to use. So yeah. Next slide. All right, node usability. What I want to say by that is how easy to use it on a standalone mode. So is the configuration part of the node user-friendly? Is it easy to launch? Is the CLI user-friendly? Is it easy to pair with other nodes? Is it easy to actually download the node? That kind of things. So that's how do I say that? Maybe that's the DevOps part. That's the DevOps part of it. So how to get the node and how to run the node. So obviously there is the community network part. We are seeing the same thing with Comnet, which is basically made of a lot of Hornet nodes, and we probably want or need to do that at some point with the B node. So this one is, I would say, the easiest one to approach for someone that is not actually developing, because you basically just have to run a node and give feedback on if it's easy to run and what you would change. So yeah, this one, everyone can be involved, basically. Next.
Yeah, the next one is the last one, since we
Wow.
have finished. You've done everything.
Cool.
So awesome. I mean, it's so much. There are so many things people can work on. The X teams can work on. I loved it. So I'd say, yeah, everyone is now free to speak. If you want to raise a hand or write a question in the chat, or just unmute yourself and ask straight away. No worries, we're here now for the Q&A session. So Thibaut, thank you very much. Let's say let's see if there are some questions from the fellow community members.
I think I saw someone raising hand.
Yeah, that was me, Daniel.
Hi,
Oh,
Daniel.
I don't want to take away anybody else's fire if they want to say something. I just wanted to mention a couple points. And one of them is about what you mentioned earlier with regard to source cred. And I think source cred is ultra cool, especially because it gives you like a personal drive to contribute more. I remember when I had my first experiences with it, what happens is you see your actual contribution to the project on this graph, and you can see how other people are contributing. And it makes you remember, oh, yeah, there was that issue that I opened that I never closed. I didn't even resolve it, or I've been meaning to do that pull request. And it's a really interesting thing that happens in your brain. It's like being able to see your contribution. Otherwise, as contributors, we're always kind of invisible to open source projects. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that. And that's all.
All right. Thank you very much. And yeah, of course, I mean, I have talked with, let's turn it around. Daniel told me about source cred. So of course, I it was really important for me to find a tool to have the possibility to give you hard data, you as community members, you as X team members, hard data to work on. Because of course, being a contributor, as Daniel completely correctly says, sometimes you're just transparent. There's an issue, you've done something, all right, that was it. And we really want to have a tool here that is also open source, so it is possible to build upon it, where people can really start building their IOTA profile, so their IOTA contributor profile. But I see there is a question. I think Thibaut is the right person to answer that.
Yeah, I'm just going to read it because I don't know if the recording will have this side thing. So I'm just going to read the question.
Yeah.
Are you going to rewrite all crates for IOTA official B repo or use B prototype crates? That's a good question. Basically, I would say that most of the work has been done during the prototype. So it means that at this moment, we almost have the official B project that is nearly done. I would say maybe 90%. But what is being done, for example, is that we are currently writing the RFCs, and that's raising a lot of questions. So that's the whole point of the RFC process. It's raising a lot of questions from the community and from the B members. So according to that, we have to adapt the crates and update them. If we want also to merge the B crates to the main repositories, they have to be fully tested, fully documented. It has to pass the reviews and everything. So there is still a lot of work to do. But yeah, the main B repository is very strict. So there is a very strict CI. There is a very strict review going on, and there is the RFC process. So the goal is that when something enters the main repository, it's in a very, very good shape. So yeah, to answer the question, most of the work has been done, but now it's like the last finishing touches.
All right.
Which also means that you guys can already start experimenting with them, because if you go to this repository, this prototype repository, you can already start playing with these crates because they are already in a good shape. So that's something you don't have to wait for them to land on the main repository.
Mhm. All right, let's just wait another minute if someone wants to write a question. Sam, yes, please. Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I have to unmute you, or you probably just can unmute yourself. No worries. All right, good. So everyone, of course, is free and open to join the one or the other team. So even if you are already in the IOTA Streams team, you can just write to me and I can add you to the one or the other team. So absolutely free to participate in one or more teams and to change teams. There is no limitation in that. It's just to avoid you to have too many channels or just get confused with all the things that are coming up. So this is on the side note. Of course, we have the main repository that's github.com IOTA-community IOTA-experience team. So have a look there. There's also the proposal about SourceCred. That's pretty interesting to see. And then we will also publish this presentation so that everything is available and we are on Discord. So if there are no more questions, Thibaut, would you like to add something before we close?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we are really looking forward to working with everyone in the community. We already started working with some of you guys. Some have been reviewing the RFCs, some have been working, for example, the website I told about earlier, the one with the RFCs being updated automatically, that's someone from the community. So thank you very much to him, but that's precisely the kind of things we really enjoy from the community, because that's a really nice addition to what we are doing in the foundation. So yeah, I mean, we are really looking forward to working with you, and we have a lot of nice things coming, and there is a lot for you to participate in.
All right, then we end this kickoff meeting. It was really interesting to see what the B team is up to. I've just made the B repository in the IOTA community section open and public, so everyone can now access it and start looking at the initiatives and proposals. So please feel free to join there. And I'll wish you a nice continuation of your activities and catch you next time. Thank you, everyone.